This podcast is sponsored today by Janet Brooks, Realty One Group. Realty One Group has 3 locations to conveniently serve you in North Kansas City, Overland Park, and downtown Lee Summit. I can personally recommend Janet as she sold my house a couple of years ago when I was making a difficult life transition. She also just helped my parents downsize and sell their house to find a new home closer to my sisters. Janet is knowledgeable, compassionate, and caring as she works to help you through the real estate process. I would highly encourage you to check out Janet or any of the agents at Realty One Group. Welcome everybody to Spirituality Adventures. This is a non-judgmental place to explore spirituality, and we're so glad you're here. This is a viewer and listener supported podcast, so we greatly appreciate your support. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, share, and subscribe to any of the social media content platforms that you're using. And then if you go to our website, spiritualityadventures.com, you can make a one-time donation, or with a monthly subscription, you'll gain access to our bonus content. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. All right. Well, welcome to Spirituality Adventures. We are excited to have Case Dorman with us today. We're so thankful for you to be on Spirituality Adventures. And I'd like to start just by getting a little bit of your story. Like, where did you grow up? Are you a Kansas City guy? And kind of where you went to high school and like how you met your wife? Give us a little bit of your background story.
Sure. Yeah, so I did. I grew up in Kansas City, South Kansas City. Went to Martin City Elementary School, and then Grandview Junior High and high school. And when I was in high school, I was actually playing high school tennis, and we were celebrating one night. It was a big night out for us when we could go grab dinner out. And we were driving by a little restaurant in Martin City called the Smokestack Barbecue. And we stopped and we're going to grab dinner. And they had a help wanted sign. And I asked for an application. And the manager came to the table and he said, "This looks great. Can you start tomorrow?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'm in." And just happened the next day was Mother's Day. So back in the 70s, this, Mother's Day was still the busiest day of the year for most restaurants. It's no longer our busiest day of the year, but it is for many restaurants, and it was ours back then. And so crazy first day, I walk in, they say, "Okay, you're going to be the bean boy." And so, they just told me, they said, "Hey, scoop these beans into this crock and warm them up. And when, they need more, they're going to call for more beans. So you just keep the beans flowing," which is one of our, signature side dishes that we sell. And about 10 minutes into my shift, this crazy looking Italian guy with this wild afro comes flying around the corner, and he stuck his finger in one of the beans that I had just put in the counter. This is the 70s, mind you. So, so not the same sanitation practices we have today. And he looked at me and he said, "Let me tell you something, you little," and I'm not going to repeat what he said. He said, "You put up one more cold bean in my counter and you're fired." And I thought, wow, that really ticked me off. And I thought, the next time that guy sticks a finger in something I put in the counter, I'm taking his skin off. And, and, I tell that story to our team because at that moment I met my father-in-law, first of all. So that was my first introduction to my father-in-law. But at the same time, what I've reflected on so many times since then is just his passion for what we did, and his passion for getting it right, and his passion for, what his view of perfection looked like for our business. And he was going to tolerate no less than our very best work on every, opportunity we had to do our best work. And so that's been a rallying cry and something we've talked about a lot in our company. So anyway, that was my first day of work in our company, and I went on to do other things. I met my wife at my first job at the Smokestack Barbecue. My wife Jennifer was working there. Her father owned the restaurant, and first time I saw her, I looked at the guy next to me. I said, "I'm asking that girl out," and he said, "You will die. Her father is going to shoot you. He has a gun. He's an Italian, and he will kill you." And I said, all right. I'll keep that in mind. And
Oh, wow.
anyway, it took a while, but we ended up going out and dated for a number of years. I went on and
How old were you
went
when
to
you
school
started working there, by the way?
I was 16.
16. Okay.
So yeah, my
First,
wife was 14 at the time. So
wow.
so it's been a long adventurous ride for us. But so I went on. I went to computer technology school, a school similar to DeVry back in the early '80s, and thought I was going to be a computer geek. And when my wife and I married, that was what I was doing. So I was a computer technician. She was a manager at the restaurant, and that was our life plan. Was she was going to keep working at the restaurant, I was going to keep doing what I was doing. And about a year into our marriage, our general manager of the restaurant left, and I had started working the cash register at night. And my father-in-law looked at me and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I don't know. We didn't work too well together the first time." And he said, "Well, if it doesn't work, we'll know." And I said, "Yeah, I think we will know." So that started an adventure in our business that's been 34 years for me, and an incredible ride for our business. And so we have today we have 9 different businesses that we own and operate. We have 4 children that I'm immensely proud of, and 2 grandchildren, and yeah, it's been
That's
an
that's
incredible
awesome.
blessing.
So I was looking up the Jack Stack story. I mean, growing up here and then actually eating down at the Martin City one back in 80, 81. I remember being down there, and I actually met your father-in-law in 80, 81, but I didn't realize that his dad had started a barbecue place, Russ Fiorella. So
Yes.
I didn't know that part.
The smokestack, actually.
Okay. Which the smokestack that's still in Kansas City that's the year.
So there are no longer any smokestack restaurants. So at one time there were 5, and the family rule when Jack was the eldest son. And so Jack's parents started the business, and their rule for the family was each child could have one smokestack restaurant that they could call their own in one location, and a 100-year lease for the name. So at one point, 4 of the other siblings opened their own restaurant, and their mother and father still had their restaurant. So there were 5 at one time.
Okay. And what's the one up here in the Northland off of North Oak that isn't?
So that was his brother Russell's restaurant that was probably open 99, maybe 2000.
Okay. But is it still, it's not going anymore?
No longer there.
Oh, wow. I haven't been there in
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then somebody else bought it out, I guess, and turned it into
another restaurant concept right now.
Gotcha. All right. Well, so he did smokestack. And so then Jack started his own deal in 1974. Was that right?
He did. Yes.
And that was the Martin City.
His father helped him purchase the building out in Martin City, and that's when the smokestack in Martin City originated. Awesome.
So, and when did you started working there the second time in what year? 80 something?
87.
87. Okay.
Yeah. And
then when did you become CEO?
So Jack was very, Jack was very entrepreneurial, but he was also a planner. And in 1991, my brother-in-law and myself were both working in the business, and Jack set up a plan for us to buy his interest in the business over a 15-year period of time. So during that 15 years, I was buying into the business. I was managing partner, and then I became president around 2000. And then my wife and I purchased the business, finalized the purchase of the business from my father-in-law in 2009. So that's when I became CEO.
Okay. 2009. And then you say, so there's 5 restaurants in Kansas City now. Is that correct?
Yes. Getting ready to open our 6th in Lenexa next month.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you got Martin City, you got Union Station, you got one on Metcalf, right?
Yes.
I think I've been to those three, and then
Plaza
oh yeah, I've been to the Plaza too. Yep, yep.
and Lee Summit.
That's the only one I haven't been to. Okay,
Yeah. And we're opening Lenexa. So.
Lenexa. All right, and then you said you own 9 businesses.
Yeah, so we count each of the restaurants as a business unit, and then
Okay.
we have a shipping business where we ship our products nationally. We own a ready-to-eat USDA production facility that produces products for our shipping division and for our retail and wholesale division that we have. So we have shipping, we have wholesale and retail, and then we have our catering division, which is one of the largest restaurant-owned catering companies in the country, actually, that we operate out of a event facility that we call Fiorella's, that is at 137th and Antioch. So we operate those 2 businesses out of this facility.
Now, is that where I would have gone for the T Factor conference back in the spring? Okay,
exactly.
I was down at. That's a great location. What was that before you guys bought that?
So it was an event space. It was called the Ritz Charles, and had been here for 20 years before we bought it.
Okay.
And we converted it into Fiorella's.
Yeah, I think I've been to 2 events there now. One that I think one that Joe Calhoun put on there, maybe last year, and then the T Factor here just recently, or back in the spring, actually. Yeah, well, cool. And the catering thing, I didn't realize the catering business was the largest of its kind. Is that what
one of the largest?
One of
So restaurant owned. So there are very large caterers like Compass and like Aramark and a lot of the large national groups that handle most of the convention centers around the country and also handle stadiums and that kind of thing. But on a local level, you won't find a lot of restaurant groups with substantial catering companies. And we started our catering company back in 1991. And just grew it slowly and steadily through the course of the last 30 years, and it's become a substantial operation for us.
That's great. That's great. So, how many, with all these 9 businesses, how many people are employed through?
So we have a little over 800 right now.
Wow. So let's talk about work culture and spirituality and some of those kind of conversation things. How do you view work culture? Not just the spiritual components, but just work culture in general.
Yeah. So I've said a lot of times, Fred, I mean, work culture is really, it's something you experience day by day, moment by moment, right? I mean, you can try to establish what you hope will be a culture in a workplace, but it really is how you live moment by moment in that culture and how your people experience that culture moment by moment that dictates what your culture is. So we've worked very hard to create a culture that is honoring of every individual that walks through our door, and that is respectful and creates opportunities for each individual that works for us to in some way improve their life, improve their who they are as a person, and try to become the best version of them. So it's incredibly important to us. When I was young and I left working at the smokestack, I worked in other restaurants while I was going through school, and I experienced a lot of different restaurant cultures. And when I got the opportunity to come back to work with the family in 1987, one thing that was really important to me was I wanted us to do the restaurant business differently. I had been in the industry for 7 years at that point, and I really thought that it was an industry that didn't honor the people that worked in it as a general rule at the places that I had been a part of, and I really wanted us to be a company that honored and respected the people that worked in our business and appreciated the value that they brought to our company. So we set out to do that in 1987, and my what I would always tell our team is if you work in our industry and you live in Kansas City, you should want to work for our business. We ought to be the place that people want to work at if you're a professional in the restaurant industry in Kansas City. So,
Yeah, so I like that concept of, I do think culture and workplaces are built little actions at a time, day in and day out, over the course of days and months and years. I mean,
yes,
your culture becomes how you speak to people, how you treat people, how you inspire people, that's so like a lot of businesses will go through vision, mission, core values, and those kind of things, and then not live them out, right?
yes,
So I love the fact that you took the idea of a holistic approach, because several of the things you named there about people and what, how you would value them and how you want them to be their best self.
yes.
You want to contribute to the people that work for you being their best self. I mean,
Yeah.
For me, that's a very holistic, and when you think about, like, I'm a Bible teacher, right? So like the word shalom in the Hebrew Bible, our Old Testament, is a word for holistic, like not just peace emotionally, but it has to do with your whole person, your spiritual life, your physical life, your health, your mental health, your relational health, your spiritual, all those things are incorporated in that word shalom. And it's such a beautiful greeting, but it's more than that. And so that's amazing. Like, I think to value people that work for you in that way is a spiritual part of the culture.
Yeah.
That
So, and I tell our team that if we're going to put words on the wall and we're going to say that something's important to us, we better be ready to live into that. And we better be ready to live that example. So I mean, we have all those things. So our purpose statement is hope through hospitality. And, hope through hospitality for me personally is Jesus through hospitality. So I want people to, if they are part of our organization and interact with our family and interact with the leaders in our company, I want them to see something different here than they see in other businesses that they interact with. And it's not in a preachy way that we do that. It's in a way that we live our lives and that we care for people. And so I share with my family that this is our ministry. This is where we get to impact the world for good. And we need to take this stewardship responsibility very seriously and do our best work in that space. And so that's, and that's something that our team has really bought into. I mean, I don't think if you ask my team what hope through hospitality was, that they would tell you it's Jesus through hospitality. That's my heart. But for them, it's finding hope in the little things of the day, right? It's finding hope in, being able to help their coworker and lift up their coworker in a moment of need, or having someone walk into our business and maybe they've suffered a tragedy, maybe they're just having a rough day, and they walk into our business and we get to inspire them with a little hospitality that changes the way their day's going for them. And so it's all these thousands of little interactions that we get to have every day that give us the opportunity to create hope for somebody else.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Your own faith journey, is that something that started when you were young? If you mapped out your own spiritual journey, what do you have? Like, there are some highs and lows. Was there a turning point in your life where it became more important?
Yes. So I would say I was an intellectual believer. So I went to church as a kid, but my mother remarried. I had a stepdad. We stopped going to church as much when I was in junior high and high school. And I wouldn't say I ever, doubted my faith. I mean, I never really doubted Christ. I never doubted God. I always knew, I always felt the presence of God, but I certainly was not pursuing it. And I was also a list maker and a goal setter. So for me, life was all about achievement and accomplishment, and a lot about numbers. I mean, I'm I'm a numbers guy anyway. Numbers for me are fun. So I would measure all of my accomplishments by those things, by being able to complete something from my list, or accomplish the next goal that I'd set, or hit a numbers goal that I had for myself or for the business, and all those things were happening for me. I was having great success in accomplishing a lot of those goals, and I had found myself in a place at work where I was working really hard. God had really beaten me down pretty well, and I realized that all of those things were empty, and I thought, so I had a powerful conversion moment that led to a conversion period for me. And it was really, the Holy Spirit just coming and grabbing me and saying, this is not what life is for. And I have something else to show you. And, I was at a point where I was beaten down enough that I was ready to listen. And so that, I was 35 years old. So that was 24 years ago, almost 24 years ago when that happened.
Yeah. Were you was this kind of a private moment? Were you in some type of a retreat or group setting, or it was more of a private moment? I was
driving to work one morning.
Huh.
I was in my truck driving to work, and I was actually driving by our home parish. So, my wife is a cradle Catholic, so our entire family was Catholic. I was baptized Methodist and never converted to the Catholic Church. Thought I was going to when I got married, and I got into the process. And of course, I was in the restaurant business, so I worked every weekend. So it was very easy for me to make excuses that I was too busy to finish the conversion process, and I never did. And so I was actually driving by my church and just felt this very powerful presence telling me, you need to be here. And I called up the church on the spot that day. I had my cell phone in the car. I called up the church. I said, I want to join the church. And I'd been attending with my wife. My wife went every Sunday forever. She was a great witness to me, and had our kids in church, and I would go when it was convenient. So I never fought it. I never fought her. I was not, it wasn't anything I disagreed with for our family, but I wasn't pursuing my own spiritual journey. And at that moment, that all changed. And very selfishly, I started doing that for me because I knew I needed it.
Did you find, did you find some helpful mentors along the way? Or,
yes.
Was that a part of your growth, your spiritual growth?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the greatest things that happened through that time. So I was clearly going through the RCIA process at church, but I found a group of men that were doing a morning Bible study, and one man in particular, his name's John Duggan. He's an attorney here in town, and John just had a passion for discipling new believers. And I joined his Bible study, and it was life-changing for me. So I did that for 2 or 3 years with that group. And then I went on to do a lot of other studies. And this was a non-Catholic, this was just a Christian Bible study. So I was the only Catholic in that group, but I knew I was being fed, and I knew I loved it. And I knew it was a group of men that I wanted to be around. So
awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. In the last year, there's a Catholic guy by the name of Richard Rohr. That's a Franciscan guy that I'd never read his books up until this last year, And somebody gave me one of his books kind of in the middle of what I'd been going through, which was a really challenging time a couple of years ago. Can still be challenging at times, but it was a book called Falling Upward. And so I'd kind of gone through this personal crisis, and oh man, it was like it just kind of like had a, and I'd been solid on my faith for decades, right? I came to Christ when I was a teenager. So I've been like following Jesus and teaching the Bible since I was like 17. But man, I went through this time and it got so dark, and a friend of mine from the National Prayer Breakfast actually mailed me this book by Richard Rohr, Falling Upward. I started reading it, and it just rekindled my faith, which was such a huge part of, kind of what I'm doing now with spirituality adventures and stuff. So, yeah. And then mentors are so critical, I think, to our growth and those kind of things. So your own spiritual growth, did this then begin to help you with the work culture part of this?
So much. I've told a lot of people, Fred, that I thought I trusted people before I knew the Lord, but I didn't even really have a concept of what trust was. It was always a very conditional trust, right? I trust you as long as I can see you doing everything that I need you to do, or everything that I want you to do, right? Everything was very conditional. And the fact that this happened at the time that it did in my life and in our business's life was completely transformational for us, and completely transformational from our family. I think if you were to ask my father-in-law, Jack, if you were to ask my wife, if you were to ask somebody else in our family, my faith journey really transformed my family's faith journey, because everybody got more excited about their faith when they saw how dramatically it had impacted my life, and began to see how dramatically it was impacting our business. So yes, it really changed how I looked at business. I saw business. I came to the realization that God really owns it all, and that our role is to be a steward of the gifts that He's provided us. And so when we come together and we talk about business, that's, those are basic operating guidelines that we try to live into every day, is that we're not here to serve our purpose. We're here to serve His purpose. And then, we get to go to work doing that work, which is a lot more fun than doing work to serve ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I think service is honestly an outflow of spirituality as well, and service to, so you have this, you've built this culture where you want to be a blessing to your employees. You want to bring hope to the people that you serve through your business, but you want to do that with your employees. And I'm sure you probably do that in ways for the city too. I bet you there's a lot of ways that you serve the city, Kansas City, or the greater Kansas City area, as a way to express that kind of stewardship and gratitude.
We do. We don't talk about it. We have a giving mission as a company, and it's to feed and care for the least fortunate in our community. So that's something we're passionate about. We do a lot of work with City Union Mission. We're a substantial donor to the mission. And then we also do Hope Faith is another mission that feeds the homeless in the inner city of Kansas City. And so we've been doing this for, I think we must be going on close to 10 years, 8 or 10 years. So we take a day every month, and each of our business units has their day where they will go and they will serve at Hope Faith lunch to the homeless communities down there. It's completely voluntary. Nobody's ever compelled to go. The stores themselves put their team together, and they go into the community and they serve lunch to the homeless. And, I put it on the table all the time. I said, look, if this is not working, if the team's not, feeling great about this, you guys need to let me know. And the team they love it. They're really committed to it. New people that jump in onto our team, they'll go down, they'll serve, they fall in love with it. So that's been a way that we've been able to take kind of my family's passion for caring for the least fortunate and share that with our team, and let our team be a part of that, and let them get to see, what it's like to go into the community and serve those who are most in need. So
that's great. That's great. That was one of my passions when I was senior pastor of Vineyard Church, was to serve our city. And I think Desiree is the founder of Hope
She
Faith.
was, yeah.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, Desiree's moved on. Yeah.
Okay. She was one of my pastors. And then we partnered with City Union Mission. Gosh, I think Catholic Charities was the largest distributor of harvesters. And I think our church was one of the top second, third, or fourth, right in there.
Wow.
The way we served the whole, and then I partnered with a lot of the urban core churches in both the Hispanic and African-American communities, Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri. And that's still a big passion of mine. It's great to hear that you're doing that. I love that. I think
we love the work. For, my wife and I, we're also passionate about discipleship. We're passionate about how to share our faith in our community and outside of our community. And so we're, we do work with a lot of groups that promote that kind of discipleship work as well. So.
Yeah, well, I told you this. I just interviewed Mark Whitaker just a week ago, and when I went to that conference at your place, I was not expecting to hear a story like Mark Whitaker's.
Yeah,
he led off that thing last spring. And for those who are listening, this would have been, I think, spring of wasn't it 2021 that we did that? I think. That first one.
Yeah, it was earlier this year.
Yeah. And, I wasn't expecting to hear this guy from, gets put in federal prison for, price fixing, the largest price fixing scheme in American history. It's like, holy crap. I remember watching that movie, The Informant, but I didn't, but anyway, what a fascinating guy. And I'm curious, they put a lot of things on the table at their T-Factor conference. And for those who listening and didn't hear the Mark Whitaker interview, he's with Coke Consolidated, and a part of their mission is to help CEOs around the country, I think, to realize how they can build more faith-based friendly environments in their work culture. And I'm not sure, that's probably not wording it correctly, but it's along those lines. And they put a lot of things on the table that CEOs can adopt and take home with them. Did you end up with some takeaways from that conference?
We did, and we have been doing a lot of the things that they do, but definitely, the corporate chaplain is something that we've used in the past and had available to our team. So we do a number of things that are maybe a little bit different. We have a corporate benevolence fund. We call it an employee assistance fund. And essentially my wife and I funded that with the initial investment. And then we went to our team and we said, hey, we want to create a pool of cash that if somebody on our team has a family emergency or they have a need, they can come and ask, and we can provide that for them. We can care for them in an emergency situation. And we presented it to our team, and the team said, hey, we want to participate too. And so they all started contributing to it. So we give them the opportunity when they go through orientation and they sign up as an employee. You can give a dime a paycheck if you want to. You can give a quarter. You can give $1. You can give whatever you want to give. You don't have to give anything at all. But what's happened is it's built this large pool of funds inside of our company that when when somebody has a need, they lose a loved one, they have a family tragedy, their car breaks and they can't afford to fix their car or care for their family in the way that they need to, they can come, and it's run by the employees. So our team runs the fund. They can come to them and they say, hey, I need help with this, and they can grant them. It's not a loan, it's a grant. They just get the cash. So that's one of the things we do. But we do a lot of things. We really use our Hope Through Hospitality. We have a special Facebook site for Hope Through Hospitality where people can share stories about finding hope at work or at home or wherever they are in life. They can share those stories, and that's encouraging for people and helps them. We actually, one of my favorite stories, when COVID happened last year, we pivoted and really started focusing on carry-out activity through our restaurants and how do we do carry-out well. And what we found was that the community was so appreciative and so extremely generous at that time that the tips were off the chart. I mean, people were leaving a $20 tip for a $20 order, right? Mm. And our team that was working in carryout came to us and they said, this is ridiculous, man. I've never gotten paid this much money. And we got people here who are losing their hours and they can't feed their family. And, we want to help. And so we went to our team and we said, hey, what do you think? I mean, we're getting, an inordinate amount of tip income here. How about if we take this and we create a fund for our team that's hurting right now during COVID? Maybe they're not getting the hours that they need. Maybe their family has some special needs. And so everybody on our team agreed. We took half the tips for each day of traffic that we got through the store, and we just created a pool, and that pool stayed in the store. And it was a no questions asked thing. If somebody on the team needed money, they came and they asked, and and the general manager gave them cash, and a really cool moment. So people who were not a part of the restaurant team in other parts of our company started hearing about this, and they said, well, I want to help too. And I'll try not to get choked up on this story, but I had a gal that worked in our catering sales office, and she came into our president's office and she said, I have been looking for a church to join, and I've been saving so that I could tithe when I got there. And she said, this feels a lot like church to me. Here's what I've been saving. And she gave him a check for a couple $1,000s.
Wow. It gives me chills.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I mean, it's a beautiful hope story. And, there's countless stories like that we have that, we get to share inside of our company. And it just, it's so a lot of those practices are things that we've tried to put into practice on a daily basis inside of our company so that our team knows and feels cared for and knows how important they are. And then we have started meeting with prayer for a long time, especially our executive meetings. We start with prayer, and usually it's whoever wants to lead. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's one of my sons, sometimes it's one of our other leaders that just feels led to pray before we meet. So
yeah, that's great. I think a lot of CEOs worry about crossing boundaries that they shouldn't cross, or those kind of things. And I think when you're not preachy about it, when you just make it as an offering, and then you build in these spiritual core values that everybody appreciates, no matter what their faith background, people are going to appreciate benevolence and serving. Yes. And serving the poor and taking care of each other and having a work environment where people can grow to their best self. And, all those core values are super spiritual and rooted in deep spirituality. But if you're not forcing it, it's just a part of the culture, and you have all these options for people that are available. I mean, think about the care that people get when they're in crisis, when they're in need, when they're, whatever's going on. you show up for
You
them.
know, if I could, Fred, one of the things that during my conversion was, I realized that I had been looking around at a lot of people's lives that seemed to have a different balance than my life had, right? Things that seemed, crushing to me didn't crush them. They responded differently to tough things going on in their life, and it caused me to reflect and say, what's different about them? And that's really what we strive to accomplish, right? We don't want to tell you, it's Jesus through hospitality. We want you to be here and be with us and look around and say, what's different here? Mm-hmm. And is this attractive to me? Do I want to be a part of this? And does this help me become a better person? So
yeah, I love that. That's wonderful. Well, man, thank you so much for taking time and doing this interview. I know that there'll be people outside of Kansas City that are listening. Of course, one of my favorite questions to people that I didn't ask you is what's your top 3 favorite barbecue places in Kansas City? Let's
see. Can I go Jack Stack?
Right.
I will say, so there's so many great barbecue restaurants in Kansas City, and I haven't even been to all the new ones. I've heard the Jones Sisters is really, really good.
I haven't tried that one.
My wife and I have had Gates barbecue sauce in our refrigerator for as long as I can remember. I mean, it is a staple at our house. We love that barbecue sauce, and I still think it's one of the great sauce recipes out there. But Joe's does a great job. Q does a great job. I mean, it's such a great competitive environment in Kansas City right now, and everybody kind of has their niche, right? They have their group that they appeal to, and so many people cross over now too, where they may go to one week and another one the next week, and so it's just the fact that we have the barbecue culture and level of excellence that we have in Kansas City. It's a rising tide that lifts all boats for sure.
That's great. So yeah, for all the folks that are listening from outside Kansas City, Kansas City's got the best barbecue in America. That's just a fact, right? And so
I totally agree.
and then honestly, when I give people top 3 choices, they'll usually pick one that's a little bit obscure, but then yours always usually lands in the top 3, like without any prompting at all. So, and you guys do a great job, and you're not only serving great food, but you're serving our city with compassion and with hope. And I'm thankful for your work. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
And so, yeah, people can, people who aren't from Kansas City, when you come, be sure and check out Jack Stack Fiorella at their 5 different locations. 6 in a month, there'll be a 6th location. Pretty much any part of the city that you're in, you can find one. We got to get one up in the Northland, though, right?
So we're poking around.
Yeah. See, I'm an old I graduated in Park Hill, so I'm a longtime Northlander. So, at any rate, yeah. Well, good stuff. Thanks for joining us. What's your website?
JackStackBBQ.com.
JackStackBBQ.com, and you guys cater around the country as well?
We do.
That's for all different types of events?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we ship a lot of the stuff that we do now is we'll ship product in, and a chef somewhere locally will prepare our product that we ship in. So
okay.
But we'll go.
All right.
We'll go anywhere they ask us to.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us at Spirituality Adventures.
Yeah.
And
thank you, and thanks for your work with this. This is inspiring to people, and that's what it's all about. I've shared with many people. There's just this incredible groundswell in Kansas City right now of Christian business owners that are really stepping out in faith and running their businesses in alignment with their faith, and it's a blast to be a part of.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, and Everybody, thanks for joining in with Spirituality Adventures, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is sponsored today by Janet Brooks, Realty One Group. Realty One Group has 3 locations to conveniently serve you in North Kansas City, Overland Park, and downtown Lee Summit. I can personally recommend Janet as she sold my house a couple of years ago when I was making a difficult life transition. She also just helped my parents downsize and sell their house to find a new home closer to my sisters. Janet is knowledgeable, compassionate, and caring as she works to help you through the real estate process. I would highly encourage you to check out Janet or any of the agents at Realty One Group. This concludes today's episode. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember to like, share, or subscribe to the social media platform that you're using. And then go to our website, spiritualityadventures.com, and make a one-time donation, or you can subscribe monthly and receive our special bonus content. Thanks so much.